Hey everybody, Jem Schofield here and welcome to the Canon EOS C100 video tutorial series. In this video we're going to be talking about post-production workflows with the camera, and the first thing we're going to talk about is this piece of software here that ships with the C100. It's called the Data Import Utility. I have it installed on my computer. I'm going to go down here to the dock and launch the software, and there it is. And let's talk a little bit about why we might use the Data Import Utility software. So the files that are generated on the C100, these AVC HD files, the maximum file size is 2 gigabytes. If you're shooting a clip that's larger than 2 gigabytes, what this software will do when it transfers your footage from your card to your computer, it will actually stitch that footage back together. It'll also handle situations where when you're using relay recording and you're going from one card to the other, spanning from one card to the other, it'll stitch those clips back together so that they're whole clips. So let's go ahead and take a look at how to use this. First thing we need to do is take some footage from the camera, and this is some footage that we just shot. I'm going to insert that into the SD card slot of this computer or to a card reader. It's going to show up on the desktop, and then over here in the Data Import Utility we have to choose where our source is. Now we could take the USB terminal from the C100, plug a cable from the camera to the computer, and actually import our footage from the camcorder itself. In this case, we're going to choose card reader because that's what we're using here in the computer. And then we have to actually decide where we're going to save these files. That's down here under destination. I'm going to browse. I'm going to go in this situation to my desktop. I'm going to create a new folder and I'll just call it C100 clips. Create that. Click on open, and that will now be my new destination for the files that I'm transferring from the card. And then over here under method, I have to decide whether or not I'm going to import only the clips that have not been imported before. So for instance, if you shot on the card, you put it back into your camera, you recorded some more clips, as long as your destination was the same, it'll only bring the new clips in when using that. Or I can choose import all clips, which is what I'll choose now. And then all I have to do is click on the import button. It's going to transfer and convert these files into single clip files. And you can see that's happening there with the progress bar. And then when that's all done, we'll go ahead and take a look at where those are inside of the folder structure. Finish saving the clips, click on OK. I'm going to go ahead and quit this software. So we'll go over here now and take a look at those files that have been transferred. You can see them right here. And I'll eject the card so that that's no longer in the computer. And then we can go ahead and take a look at those in an NLE. Now make sure that your NLE supports these files, otherwise we'll take the native files and bring those in, and I'll show you how to do that in the next segment of the video. So I'm going to go down here to the dock. I'm going to launch Premiere Pro CS6 and open that up, and then over here in the media browser I want to go down to, in this case, the desktop. We can see that folder here called C100 clips. Double click on it, we'll see that folder structure there, and when we go in there the MTS files will show up. I can double click on a file, so we can load that clip up here inside of the source window. I can go over here and load a different clip up here, and we can play that back, or I can just drag that directly into the timeline, and you can see there's the clip, and we can play that back in real time. So that's your basic workflow there. Premiere Pro CS6 will also recognize the native files that are coming directly off of the SD cards, but right now what we'll do is we'll take a look at how to work with those using Final Cut Pro 10. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Final Cut Pro 10 workflow and see how that works. And there's a number of ways that we can get our clips into all of these NLEs. This is just one of them. I'm going to go ahead and open up Final Cut Pro 10. I'm going to take my SD card and I'm going to insert it into my computer. And in a second, Final Cut Pro 10 will recognize that that card and those files have been inserted. The media import window will open up and we can immediately see the clips that are on the card. We can skim through those clips. We can set in and out points. And then when we have the clips that we want to actually import, we can go ahead and click on Import Selected. When that opens up, if we want to, we can copy these files into the Final Cut Events folder, which will take them from the card and create new copies of them. You can also just copy the entire contents of your card to your computer or to an external drive before you go through this process, and then just import them through this window. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on Import. It'll bring the file into Final Cut Pro 10. So now we actually have that inside of Final Cut Pro 10. It's in an event. We can work with it, bring it into a project, and start editing it into a timeline. As you can see, depending on the NLE that you're working with, you may have a slightly different workflow. And I'm not showing you all of the workflows of how you can work with the files from the C100, but this should give you guys a pretty good overview of how to work with these files in post.